I heard her whisper, she's seeing stuff too. And that's when it all started for me.
Welcome to Tell Me a Ghost Story, the late night call-in podcast where we delve into the world of the supernatural and explore the eerie and unexplained. I'm your host, Michelle Newman. This podcast features true stories from our callers that will send shivers down your spine and leave you questioning the existence of the afterlife. So grab a cozy blanket, turn down the lights.
My name's Tyler from Ohio. So I was an ICU nurse, and I worked the night shift, 7P to 7A. And one night I had a patient in the very back last room of the unit. It used to be an office, and they had transitioned it into more patient rooms. So when I went in the night, everything was normal. Just taking care of an elderly female. And around midnight or so, I had to go back in the room, and I was speaking with a patient. And she said, I was standing at the computer, and there was chairs, and the corner was behind me. And she said, I was just talking to her about the day, and she mentioned something about a man in a black suit behind me. They're sitting in the corner. So naturally, I was curious. So I asked her. I said, "Are you seeing them right now? Are they related to you? Is this a family member?" She said, "No, I don't know them. He's been here with me all day." And I asked her to describe him to me, and she said, "It's just a tall man in a black suit. He's been sitting here with me all day. He's sitting in the corner right now." And I mean, needless to say, I got chills pretty quickly. I'm looking behind me, and I asked her, "Have you spoke to him, or has he said anything?" And she said, "No, he's just been sitting here with me all day long." So I said, "Okay," and I asked her if there was anything else she needed, and then no, she was fine. So went along with my shift. Nothing else really notable happened. And not while I was on shift. Next time I was back, I asked the staff, and checked to see what happened with that patient. And they said that it was probably a day or so after when I saw her that she had passed away. I've had several encounters like that where family members in the ICU or in the hospital that are nearing death will witness their mothers, their fathers, or family members. And every time I would ask them, did they come and visit you today? Or are they still alive? Are they still with us? No, they've passed. That was a common occurrence in the hospital, in the ICU. So yeah, very creepy. That was one of the more uneasy moments that I've had in the hospital. Thanks.
Thank you, Tyler from Ohio. You know what's interesting? When my grandmother was in hospice, she said she was being visited by someone she called the metaphysicist, who would come and fly around the corners of her room. Within a few days, she'd passed away. I wonder if the metaphysicist was wearing a black suit. Next message.
Hi, this is Nellie again from Clinton, Illinois. And this is my other story. It occurred also at the same house that we were living in. The second time that something strange happened to me was I actually had my own bedroom at that time. It was a tiny bedroom, and I remember I took a nap. it was a long nap, so I woke up in the middle of the night and the kitchen light was on. And I found it strange because I checked the time and it said it was like around 1 a.m. around that time. I don't clearly remember. And the strangest thing is that the kitchen light was on, and I remember I got up and I said, "Mom," and no one replied, but I heard, like, I can clearly hear something going on in the kitchen, like stuff moving around. It sounded more like glasses moving, but when I took a peek in the kitchen, no one was there. And I found it strange because my parents' bedroom door was closed and my brother's bedroom was also closed. So it was just me, and I can clearly hear glasses moving, like something is going on in the kitchen, and the light was on. I automatically felt like also when I saw that, like chills. I just knew something was wrong, and I thought that's not normal. Everyone was in their bedroom sleeping, and this is going on in the kitchen. So I just went back to bed. I didn't want to deal with this.
Thank you, Nellie. I can't help but think of that old song lyric. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. But who is in the kitchen? Or what? Next caller.
Hey, Michelle, it's Maggie from your hometown. I have very weird dreams all the time, like all the time. And one night, about 15, 16 years ago, I had a dream where I was in a coffee shop. And I was standing in line with all the other customers, and I turned around, and my friend Liz was standing behind me. And she was radiant. She had a big beaming smile on her face, and she was wearing a black coat with big red roses, like, all over it. And she just looked absolutely beautiful. And I turned around and I went, "Liz, oh my God, I miss you. I love you." And I grabbed her and I hugged her. And I just felt her so real and so near to me. And I just held her to my chest, and I felt all this love flowing from her. Like she was okay and she was at peace and she was happy. And I just kept telling her that I loved her, but she didn't say anything in return. And then, like, it was my turn to order. And so when I turned around to the coffee counter and then looked back, Liz was gone, and then the dream shifted into something else. So a few days later, about a week later, I found out that a couple nights before I had had that dream, Liz had died in a car crash. She was in Panama, and she was driving around late at night with friends, and their car went over an unmarked cliff, and that was the end of my sweet friend. So I firmly believe that that was her coming to say goodbye to me. And I will just never forget that dream, and I'll never forget how beautiful and peaceful she was. And I also learned that her middle name was Rose, which was something that I hadn't known before. And so, yeah, I believe she was there to say goodbye and to let me know that she was okay, even though I wasn't aware yet that she was gone. And that's my story, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Maggie, for calling in. Liz, I'm sure you are still radiant wherever you are.
Hi, Michelle. It's me again, Yvonne, from the Philippines, and I'm back to share you one of my early memories of the paranormal. And come to think of it, the situation itself could actually also be a possible glitch in the matrix, but I'll let you decide. So I just want to set the scene. It was late 2000, around 2002, because that was the year that my brother was born, my brother Gio. And he was just a few months old. We were left at home because my parents had to do their side hustle. So I was left to watch over him. So anyway, the apartment is a 2-bedroom apartment located on the second floor. Both of the rooms are adjacent to each other, and in front of the room, would be our living room slash dining room. And then just a few steps away from the living room slash dining room would be the kitchen. And then right next to that, to the right, will be the bathroom. So it's a small 2-bedroom apartment, perfect for 4 people. My mom, my dad, and me, and my brother. And I was sleeping, second nap. I woke up possibly around 5 p.m., 6 p.m. to the sound of my mom's voice. And then as I opened my eyes, it was a bit blurry because I just woke up and I could actually see her. I could also hear my dad's voice. I couldn't see him. I only heard his voice. I heard him asking for change from my mom. So what I could see from when I woke up, from what I heard her, she wasn't facing me. She was facing out the door, talking to my dad. She had her hair in a braid. I think she was wearing a gray shirt or a white shirt. Floral short shorts. I know it was her because that was exactly what she wore when she left that day. It was a weekend. Anyway, she was grabbing her purse from the back of the cabinet and then talked to my dad. So I was still waking myself up. I was waiting for them to stop talking or stop having a conversation, and I just heard my dad walk out the front door. I could still hear the car engine in the background when this was happening. So I was like, Mom. I was whispering to her to get her attention, but I couldn't speak out loud or louder than that rather, because my baby brother was sleeping right next to me. I wouldn't want to wake him up. So what I decided was to just get out of bed and then talk to her. She was just a few steps away from me, just a few inches away. And I was about to actually tap her on her shoulder, but she was walking too fast. So as we were walking out of my parents' room, and then by the time she got into my room, my bedroom door was closed. So instinctively, I just opened it. By the time I opened the door, the lights were off. It was like, why is the lights off? So I decided to turn it on. By the time I turned it on, my mom wasn't in the room. I wasn't freaked out. I was just confused. I was like, why is she not there? I'm like, where did she go? In my head, it was logical for me to go to the front of the door and peep down the stairs to check if my dad was there. Because usually if he would just smoke, he would either be outside the front door smoking or somewhere close to the stairs. So when I was checking, I couldn't hear the car engine anymore. I didn't see him. And when I took a peek at the front door, my phone started ringing. My phone was a Nokia 3210, and like I told you, my baby brother was sleeping, so it was really loud. I had to run and get to it so it wouldn't wake him up. And by the time I answered, I was like, hello. It was my mom. So she said that they were going to be late. They had a couple more things to take care of, and they promised to buy takeout and have dinner together. When she explained that they were going to be late, I told her, that's weird. I followed you going to my room. And she was like, what are you saying? I thought you were home. I followed someone who looked exactly like you going from my parents' or your room going to my room. And then you were gone. I heard the car, I heard dad, everything. You were just gone. And then they were like, it could be an angel watching over you guys, since you're home alone. I was like, okay, fine. And then we had dinner that night. And then she was asking me details of what happened. I told her I'm not lying, telling the truth. That's what happened. And I heard her whisper, she's seeing stuff too. And that's when it all started for me, seeing a lot of stuff and experiencing a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's for me tonight. Thanks, Michelle. See you again next time.
Thanks for sharing, Yvonne. Keep 'em coming. In Western culture, a doppelganger is a mysterious, exact double of a living person. It's a German word that literally translates to double walker or double goer. Traditionally, they've been viewed as sinister or evil entities. Seeing a doppelganger has also been considered an omen of misfortune or bad luck. But modern reports of doppelgangers show, while sometimes mischievous, they seem to be neither sinister nor evil, nor do they bring bad luck. They just seem to be going about their business as if they are normal human beings. Kinda like you said, a glitch in the Matrix.
We attribute the success. Their guide to bed.
Next message.
All right, I'm going to tell my ghost story. Hi, I'm Liz. I live in Brooklyn, New York, but this is a story of a far, far off place, a haunted mansion, a hotel. We'll keep the name anonymous for the sake of the owners and the people involved in this story. I'll also keep my friend's name anonymous who's in this story. We will be calling him David. Well, we were headed to this haunted mansion to photograph because it's a hotel and it was opening up. They needed new photos. My friend was friends with the owners, yada, yada. So we get to this place and it is gorgeous. It's stunning. It truly, truly looks like the haunted mansion from Disneyland. Like, we're just like, what is this place? And we're getting a tour. We're getting the history, and the history's already like creepy. I don't know when it was built, 1700s, 1800s, but they're like, yeah, it was like a family and they had tons of kids, but then they would adopt all the orphan kids in the like area and all this stuff. We're like, ugh, you're creepy. Okay. And my friend and I, David, when we get together, we elevate each other's crazy and woo-woo witchy vibes. Like, we become psycho. Like, we play off each other, and it's a recipe for disaster when the two of us are put in a haunted mansion together. So we show up to this place, we're getting the tour, and then we're like, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then the person shows David where he's going to be staying. And David just like, we walk in the room and both of us get like ick feeling. And he like looks at me like, fuck no. And then he we're still like, oh, beautiful, beautiful. But you know, he looks at me and I know like he's feeling something gross, but we're not saying it in front of like the owner because we're like still trying to save face. Anyways, I'm staying in a separate room in a separate building because there's like a lot of buildings on this property. But he's in the haunted mansion on the very top floor. Anyways, we say goodbye to the owner after we get our tour, and we're like, David's like to me, he's like, oh my God, did you feel the energy in that room? That room is haunted as fuck. And I was like, absolutely. He's like, let's go back in and see if we still feel it when it's just the two of us. I'm like, absolutely. So we go up there and I'm just like, yuck. I just like feel gross. And I instantly point to this corner and I was like, that corner is where all the like bad energy is coming from. And I can just feel it. Ugh. Well, luckily, David happens to be dating a medium at the time. Perfect for us. So we call his medium boyfriend. And the medium boyfriend, like, he put on the speaker and we're like, oh my God, we are in the haunted place. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, I can feel it all. He's like, it's coming through. There's tons of voices. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's like, I can't even concentrate. He's like, oh, there's a man in that corner over there as we're like FaceTiming. We hadn't even told him I felt it there. And the boyfriend's like, yeah, there's a man in that corner. He's like, he's not great, actually. He's like, that's kind of really dark spirit. And we're like, yeah, we can tell. And then the boyfriend's getting all this other information and downloading from the property. He's like, there is tons of spirits and activity going on at this place. He's like, there's people buried on this property. He's like, there's people buried that were murdered on the property. And he's like, it's really like heartfelt. And he's like, oh, it's sad. He's like, they're sad. And they're like, no one's ever like brought us flowers or like even for that matter, knows where they're buried, or that they are buried there, or that they were murdered, yada, yada. Again, we're taking advice of the medium. We don't know if it's real, but we wholeheartedly believe everything he's saying at this point. So he's like, I think a really nice gesture that the two of you could do is like maybe go buy flowers tomorrow at the store and go lay them on the grave of the people. And we're like, we don't know where they're buried. He's like, you'll know, you'll find it. And we're like, yeah, we will. Obviously, we're witches. And so we get off the phone. At that point, David's like, I'm not sleeping in that room. And I'm like, obviously, you're sleeping in my room. I have 2 beds. This is perfect. So we like move all his stuff to my room because we're like, we are not going in that room. So we're still scared. We call back the medium boyfriend and we're like, oh, what's going on? Are we safe? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, you have 2 more spirits with you now. He's like, I think it's like a woman and a younger girl, maybe like a mom and daughter, but like 2 women. But he's like, they're really good. And they keep saying that, he's like, it's kind of like they're protecting you. And he's like, they keep saying they don't let the man in this house. And they refer to the man, which is the person we felt on the 3rd floor. And he's like, they all are referring to him as the man and like this bad man. And they're all like protecting this house from him. And they're protecting you. And then the medium's like, Liz, she keeps saying something about your cheek. And like, she keeps referring to your cheek and stuff. And I was like, well, I just got done gua shaing. For anyone who doesn't know what gua shaing is, it's a Chinese stone used to drain your lymph nodes. You do it on your face. So I just got done doing my nighttime routine of gua shaing. So then I was like, I was just gua shaing. Was she watching me gua sha and wondering? I'm sure she's never seen that in old-timey days. Anyway, so then we get off the phone. We're still freaked out. We're like, cool, there's still ghosts in here, but they seem to be protecting us. And then I was like in the bathroom and I was like, okay, like ghosts. I was like, this is what a gua sha is. It's for, and then David starts chiming in and we're both just in the bathroom talking out loud, explaining to a ghost what a gua sha is. And I was like, have we gone crazy? We're just in here explaining facial treatments to ghosts. I did not sleep at all, barely that first night. I mean, to be honest, we actually got into the same bed because I was like, we were both so scared. And then David does like, okay, I'm going to put a protective aura bubble over us to protect us from the ghosts and spirits. And we're like, we don't want you here. Please leave us alone. I don't know what we were saying. We're just like, ghosts, go away. Let us sleep. Whatever. We're just freaked out. Then the next day, I'm texting my best friend about this because I know she loves all ghosty stuff. And I tell her how we have to get these ghosts like flowers. She's like, oh, lilies. And I was like, okay, I don't know if we're going to get lilies or if they're at the store, but yeah, okay, whatever. So she says lilies. It's on our mind. We're like, okay, whatever. So we go to the store the next day. We get daffodils. There's no lilies. But then we get out of the car and we're like, okay, where are we going to go lay these flowers? And all of a sudden we see all these lilies planted and then it's like by a garden. And then the like lilies lead into like the forest. And we go through this clearing and there's this big, like, there's like, it just felt like that's where they were. Like there's this big grove of lilies, calla lilies, I believe, like one on each side. Or right away, we're like, there's 3 bodies here. There's 3 bodies there. We were just like, this is where they are. They're buried here. Okay. Like, let's put the flowers down. We say some words for these like ghost babies that are buried here and hopefully put them at peace. We do the thing. We're very like, we got this. David was freaking out. He was like, oh my God, I'll put a summon seats with the flowers going into the forest and laying them on graves where I think people are buried. I'm like, doesn't matter. We're doing it. We're not even working right now. We had to go to the store to get flowers. We should be shooting all this stuff. And we're like, ghost duty. We're like, we got to make sure this place is sound. The medium also was like, go
back in that room and put a flower in that room, where the corner where you feel like the spirit and stuff. And we're like, okay. We'll do everything you tell us. And so then we like go back up to the 3rd floor room where we felt a dark spirit. And I was like, you go in there by yourself. Honestly, that room creeped me out. I was like, I don't want to go in that room. I make David go do it. I'm like, I'm not going in there. You go put the flowers. I'm staying out here. And at this point, I'm getting the sense that David knows a little bit more about that spirit in the room, but he's not telling me. And then he tells me he does know more. And he's like, I'm not going to tell you till we leave this property. And then we do feel unease after that. Like the property felt lighter. The next night I could sleep. And we're like, they should thank us, like the owners, because we asked the owners too. We're like, so did you do any exorcisms and all cleansing the space? And they're like, oh yeah, we hired a bunch of people, and they all came in. And then David and I are like, well, they didn't do shit because this place is crawling with spirits and ghosts. But whatever, we did all the hard work. We knew where the bodies were buried. We put the flowers down. So then we leave and we're like, all right, we did good things. We may have been crazy, but whatever, we don't care. Too many weird coincidences. And then David tells me as we're leaving, the thing that his boyfriend had explained to him is that, and with the history of the place, so they would adopt all these children. And basically there was the dark history of the place was the children that they would adopt were almost like child labor. It wasn't a good situation. And supposedly this man that was up in the house was murdering them and torturing them and other horrible things. And they were all children that were killed in there. Do we know if this is true or not? No, this is hypothetical. This is what the spirits came through and said. That's supposedly who was buried there. But there is proof that there was some bad, shady shit happening with the owners and the kids when it was going on. So we do know something. And I know that before this mansion was resold, they used to talk, they would sell it as a haunted mansion. That's why people would come and stay there. So yeah, some stuff's gone down. So yeah, he said that was the man and that he was there and he's the one that's responsible for all the kids and stuff, but he only little girls. So I guess when we were in the room, he said something about I don't want anything to do with him. It's just her I want, which was me at the time, which is why I think wouldn't go back in that room. I really wouldn't go back in that room the rest of the time I was there. It was so gross and disgusting. But, I didn't, I think we did our work. That's it. Yeah. We put flowers down for baby children and we slept in the same bed and we explained to ghosts what a gua sha is, and it was scary, but we lived to tell about it.
Thank you, Liz, for telling your story. Not only did you and David put those spirits to rest, you helped them up their skincare game. That's all we have this week, folks. Do you have a ghost story? Call 701-484-2666. That's 701-484-2666. Or go to tellmeaghoststory.com and leave your story there. Go ahead and leave me a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Was something particularly scary in this episode? Or maybe you've had a similar experience. Leave your comments via our Spotify page. Thank you to all the callers who left messages this week. And as always, I'm your host, Michelle Newman, signing off. See you next week.